In this video, I'll go over 9 money and life lessons from the popular Netflix show Squid Game, which is taking the world by storm. Squid Game is set to become the most popular show in Netflix history, and for good reason. It is a brilliant show which is making everyone talk. I'm sure you've heard all about it all over social media, your colleagues at work, and even from your family. Besides being a brilliantly written show, I feel the show puts a spotlight on many things that are wrong with our society. And there are many financial and life lessons to be learned from it. Now before I begin, I just want to warn you, there will be spoilers in this video, so if you do plan to watch the show, then don't watch this video yet. Do yourself a favor and go enjoy Squid Game, and then come back and watch this video. If you have already watched this show, then get comfortable, because we are going to have some fun going over the many lessons it taught us. If that sounds good to you, let's roll the intro. What is going on, everyone? If you're new to the channel, my name is Brian and I love to talk about all things investing and personal finance. Today we are going to discuss this insanely popular show which is #1 on Netflix in over 90 countries. Squid Game is a South Korean series about a group of people who risk their lives competing in 6 sadistic games to win a large pool of prize money. The players selected are all in bad financial shape and are in dire need of money. They compete with each other in traditional Korean children's games, but failure to complete each game means death. The games are seen as a last chance for these players to get their life back on track in a fair way. It is such a psychologically gripping show because it forces yourself to kind of answer questions in your head while watching the show. What would you do if you were in their shoes? If you were in such dire financial shape, would you accept the invitation? Is our society so flawed that money is considered more valuable than life? The show teaches us many lessons on life, money, and human greed. Here are the top lessons I learned from the show. Lesson 1. The game is rigged and run by the rich and powerful. In the show, the game is run by the rich VIPs who are so bored with having so much money that they need to find new ways to entertain themselves. Even though the show tries to preach equality and fairness, we see that many of the games are rigged either through chance or by corruption. The VIPs change the rules when it doesn't suit them, and even some of the pink soldiers feed valuable information to a contestant in exchange for favors. This can be applied to the real world. In finance, the stock market is run by the rich and powerful. That is your institutional investors and your hedge fund managers. Stock prices are moved by institutional investors, and sometimes they are tactical to scare off the little retail investors and then rebuy at lower prices. The perfect example of this is the Robinhood fiasco during GameStop's historical short squeeze. It is not officially proven, but there were many accusations that the companies who were affected by the short squeeze asked Robinhood to halt trading because they were losing too much money from the squeeze. If this is true, then it just shows how rigged the system is. When the rich are winning at the expense of shorting companies and profiting from the downfall, it's all good and no one blinks an eye. However, when retail investors start getting a small win which is costing the rich a lot of money, then suddenly the game rules get changed. In the glass bridge game, there is a player who used to be a glass maker and could tell which were the real and fake ones. The rich people watching this complained that it ruined their fun, so the frontman turned down the light to take away the advantage. Which is ironic given the frontman killed a pink soldier in an earlier episode for not keeping the games fair. The stock market is rigged in this sense, but that does not mean you cannot win at it. You just have to play smarter, not harder. And if you keep watching, I'll show you how to do so later in the video. Another point I want to make in the stock market is that you have insider trading, where someone gains knowledge of non-public company news and shares it with people who are not supposed to know. This practice is illegal, but is still going on in the background. This can be compared to the doctor being fed information in the show from a few of the pink soldiers, who are shown to be the ones in direct power. Lesson 2. Even if we are given an equal start, luck plays a role. The whole premise of the show is that it's based on equality. Although the lives of the players outside the game are a complete mess, inside the game they are supposedly treated as equals, meaning they all have the equal opportunity to win the game. However, this isn't always the case. The first green light red light game was relatively fair, but each subsequent game became more about luck rather than skill or the ability to follow instructions. In almost all the games after, there is an element of luck involved. Everyone is given the equal opportunity of choice at the beginning, but the choice they make determines their luck. For example, in the honeycomb challenge, everyone gets to make a choice, but luck determines whether that illusion of choice was correct. Similarly, in the glass bridge game, everyone is given an opportunity to pick their numbers, not knowing that being first was a big disadvantage. This could be applied in real life, where everyone watching this video has won the race for life and were born into this world. However, some were born into wealth and some were born into poverty. Some were born into rich countries with many opportunities, and some were born into poor countries with very little opportunities. So luck plays a role in how much of a head start we get in life. A lot of people like to complain and make excuses that they were dealt a bad set of cards. Look, I get it, it's unfair, but you have two options. One is you feel sorry for yourself and never improve your situation, or the second option is you accept that life can be unfair, but you make the most out of the cards that life has dealt you. There are many people in this world that are in a worse position than you. If you have access to clean water and internet, you are already better off than a lot of people in the world. If you want to build wealth, pick a strategy, stick with it, and start winning at life. If you come from poverty, then be the first in your generation to break out of it. Lesson number 3. Don't invest more than you can afford to lose. I should really add, don't invest more than you can afford with borrowed money. This is perfectly demonstrated by our two main male characters. Jihan is a serial gambler and even steals from his own mother to make bets on horse racing. This gets him into trouble with loan sharks and he almost pays for it with his life. Sang-woo is a highly educated man who graduated from one of South Korea's top university. He used his client's money to invest in highly volatile stock options and futures, which did not work out. As he said so himself, he put everything on the line, including using his mum's house as collateral. Ironically, he did provide a good investing principle, saying don't put all your eggs in one basket, which means diversifying and spreading out your investments. He must have put his eggs into too many risky baskets, since he has still lost it all. Diversity doesn't always mean less risk if all the investments are still high risk. I feel this is a very important lesson in this age of low brokerage fees and online brokers, which makes investing more accessible than any time in history. The last year also returned unrealistic gains with many growth and speculative stocks producing record high returns due to the pandemic and money printing. This has led to a lot of new investors to develop unrealistic expectations. The popularity in margin trading in the last year has also made it a very dangerous environment for new investors thinking nothing can go wrong until it does. Trading on margin means borrowing money from the broker to carry out trades. This is very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, because if your stock goes down, then you will get a margin call which can wipe out your portfolio very quickly. I always tell people, if you're investing your money, consider that money gone or inaccessible for at least 10 years. You should only be investing if you're willing to lose the money you put in today. Although this won't necessarily happen, adopting this mindset will help you hold onto your stock and not panic sell when your stocks go down by 50%. Lesson number 4. Money does not equal happiness. The common theme of the show is the pursuit of money. However, when the main character ends up winning the big prize money, he is no better off than before. In fact, through the guilt he is suffering from his mother dying and the survivor's guilt from winning the game at the expense of others, he did not even touch his new money for an entire year. Another example is the shocking ending where the old man Il-nam is revealed to be the man behind the games. He tells Jihan that when you have a certain amount of money, everything becomes boring after a while because you get so used to it. In fact, he asks, what does people with no money have in common with people with too much money? And the answer was, living wasn't fun. In addition, all the money in the world could not save Il-nam from his terminal illness. He ended up being a contestant in the game to cure his boredom and to experience happiness one more time before his time was up. This can be applied to the real world. There are studies that reveal when you hit a certain level of wealth, your happiness plateaus, and you are not any more happy when you earn past that amount. I think the number is different for everyone, but I think the study does have merit. When you hit that number that maximizes your happiness, is it really worth pursuing greater heights? Or would you be happier to spend more time with your family and live your best life doing what you are passionate about? Although having said all that, the opposite is also true. The less money you have, the less happier you are. After all, in the show, many of the characters chose to return to the game and the main reason was money. Which is why we as humans always want to climb that ladder of wealth. It's finding the balance between the amount of money we have and our happiness, which is the most important part. Lesson number 5. Money changes your perception on life. After the first game, majority of the players were fearful of their life and were begging to leave the game. The game organizer allowed them to vote whether they want to leave the game or continue. Before the voting, the big prize money was revealed to the players. Upon seeing how much money was up for grabs, you could clearly tell many of the players started to change their minds and suddenly their lives seemed less valuable. It was also revealed that if they stopped the game, the prize money would be distributed to the dead players' families. This did not go down well with some of the contestants, which showed us the worst of human greed. This can be seen when the group were split 50-50 when it came to voting, until the old man voted for the games to stop. The ones who voted to continue then begged to continue playing, and suddenly death did not seem to be a problem when a seemingly more valuable prize was up for grabs. This can be applied in real life where the jobs that take more from your life are paid better. For example, in Australia, there are many mining companies that require their workers to be working remotely on site. This is known as FIFO, which stands for fly in, fly out. They pay you a lot of money because the trade-off is you give up a lot of your time and life to work on these remote sites. You are away from your family and friends for extended periods of time and you miss many special occasions. There were some studies that were done that showed that some FIFO workers were depressed because of this and it affected their quality of life. However, a lot of them don't stop because the money is just too good. And I always think that is an important question. Is the large amount of money more important than your happiness and on a deeper level, your life? Lesson number 6. There is no such thing as a free lunch. There are many examples in the show that epitomizes the famous saying, there is no such thing as a free lunch. This means when you receive free money or something of value from someone, there are usually strings attached. The main example is the salesman in the subway, essentially giving Jihan free money for playing a children's game with him. This was obviously a tactical move to prey on his desperation for money and hook him into joining the game by giving him an invitation card and offering him a taste of the money he can win. How many times in life have we been offered something free, but there's always a catch involved? In my own life, I remember when my wife bought a car and she was given a free photo shoot and a free printed photo. Well, it turns out the free print was the size of a stamp, and they actually wanted to upsell us the physical and digital prints, which were worth in the hundreds. Some other examples in the show include Sang Woo giving Ali money for a bus ride, only to later bring it up during the marble game to guilt Ali into saving his life. And Jihan was offered money by his daughter's stepfather, but in exchange he had to stay away from his family. These lessons can be applied in real life. Of course, not everyone is out to get you, and the people who genuinely cares about you are happy to give you that free lunch. However, it is an important lesson to note that when something is too good to be true, it usually is. You have to discover who your true friends are and the ones that are using you until you are no longer an asset to them. Lesson number 7. You can win against the odds if you work smarter, not harder. In the third game, there were a group of 10 players who were competing with each other in a game of tug of war. The losing team would fall to their death from a large platform. The odds were stacked against the main characters who were physically inferior to the team they were drawn against. However, through the wise words from the old man Ilnam, the underdogs were able to apply the tactics to overcome the stronger team. They employed a work smarter, not harder strategy, which ultimately saved their lives. This shows that even rigged games can be won if you apply the right strategy. As discussed earlier, there is a common belief that the stock market is rigged. And this is completely right. However, it doesn't mean we can't win if we apply the right strategy. The stock market is run by the institutional investors who pump money from their clients. Retail investors are like little sardines swimming with sharks. Much like the stronger team in the tug of war scene, if you are impatient, you may try to make quick money by day trading or buying into highly speculative stocks. However, you are playing this game against professional institutional investors and other highly skilled retail investors who knows the best time to get in and out. And if you are playing blind, you will eventually get wiped out. Instead of working hard like this, if we accept that we can't beat the market in the long term and adopt the dollar cost average strategy by buying the entire market or an index fund instead, then statistically, we can end up beating all these professional active investors in the long term. In fact, this is the strategy that Warren Buffett himself recommends for most people. This is the perfect example of working smarter, not harder, to win the game. Lesson number 8. Money is useless if you are not in good health. There are many examples of this in this show. Firstly, the old man who we previously talked about had all the money in the world, yet through no fault of his own, developed a terminal illness that all his millions couldn't save him from. Also, Jihan's mother was in bad health, which is the reason Jihan entered the show to give her a better life. But in a cruel twist of fate, after Jihan won the prize money, he came home to find his mother had passed away, rendering his money useless. The other obvious example is all the contestants dying in pursuit of money, which again makes the money useless to them. The main takeaway from this is not to let money compromise your health. At the end of the day, a healthy body is the most important thing, which is why I always live by the saying, you cannot enjoy your wealth if you are not in good health. If you are working all these long hours and barely giving your body rest or time to exercise, then you are not helping yourself in the long term. So it is a good lesson for us to exercise regularly, eat healthy, and give our body plenty of rest so when the day comes when you hit that magic number, you can physically enjoy it properly. Lesson number 9. Being rich is pointless if your loved ones aren't around. This is similar to the last lesson. The obvious example here is the main character Jihan. He entered the games to win the money to save his mother from her health problems. However, sadly she passed away when he came home after winning the prize. He was so full of grief that he did not touch any of his money for a year. Another example is Ilnam. He has so much money, yet there was no one around when he was on his deathbed. He had to be content with spending his final moments with the man he befriended inside the games. It is not confirmed, but I interpret the old man calling his gang boo as a desperate plea for human companionship to share his final moment because he didn't want to die alone. It's interesting that none of his buddies, which he organized the games with, were with him during his last moment. I think this is a good lesson to remember your family and loved ones during the pursuit of wealth. Showing ambition and going after your goals is admirable, but don't lose sight of the reason you're doing this. For me personally, I work hard now because I want to provide for my loved ones, including my wife, daughter, and of course my parents and in-laws in their old age. I want to get to a point where money is no longer an issue and I can help my loved ones with any financial situations. Your loved ones won't be around forever, so don't forget to find the right balance between spending time with them and your pursuit of financial freedom. So that concludes all the lessons I learned from Squid Game. Is there any other lessons that I missed? Please comment down below what your favorite lesson from Squid Game was. I'm curious to know. Besides the show being such a great watch for the beautiful visual arts and the gorgeous cinematography, what I enjoyed the most was the lessons it taught me. And it does make me question myself on whether I'm pursuing wealth in the right way. I hope you enjoyed my summary on Squid Game and the lessons that it provided. If you did, please give this video a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more content like this in the future. So until next time, my name is Brian and I'll see you in the next video.